And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you happen to be in the world. This is Homeroom. For where I am, it's very early in the morning, and I am on a 5 week commitment to demonstrate high level consistency when it comes to going live and presenting my fair share of information. And so I'm here. I'm about to log into our live audio app, and ready or not, ready or not, here I am. And I'm mostly talking to myself because I am under ready, but I'm here for it anyway. And I'm glad that you are as well. There will be some housekeeping in today's experience because I am not ready, y'all. But I'm going for it, and I appreciate you guys holding space. I'm gonna drop. I am under ready. I know that's right, myself. Hey, Ashika, I'll send you an invite in case you're interested. I'm also going to pin the link for the listening lounge. Tarnished Reputations back in the building. Will, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I have the link up at the top. If you want to have the viewing experience, this very audio cast is going to be streamed on YouTube. So if that is something that would be a better experience for you, you're more than welcome to check it out. Unfortunately, you can't be in both places at the same time because there's a significant delay, like 5, 6 seconds of delay. So you're going to hear a what would I call it? An echo, an unpleasant echo. Um, but we're back. We're back, and I am going to do a little bit of a rant, and then I'll try to get right into it. But in the spirit of transparency, I my background's in science, and so I am working to apply the scientific method to this um, live experience that we're sharing together. And part of that deals with figuring out what is the best format and workflow for this experience. So I am currently using a thematic approach. The theme that I'm focused on right now is diversity, equity, and inclusion and its impacts on education. And I've come to accept that it has a deep historical context, and it also has some significant relevance to what's going on in education today. I also learned that as I'm working to build this out and to make it a value to not just the two of us who are sharing this live space, but also to a broader audience. Um, as I learn a little bit more about the technology and I learn a little bit more about how to make this a fluid experience, I also take 2 steps back. So it is. I'm just glad to be here. I'll say it that way. Tarnished reputation. I'm gonna send you an invitation to come on up. No pressure space, of course. Good morning, Tarnished. How are you? Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay. Trying to keep it together, my friend. I'm sure you can understand that.
I understand that so much.
Right, right, right. All too well, I'm sure. All right. Well, there are a few clips that I wanted to share, but again, in the spirit of trying to get it all together, I don't have these clips readily at my fingertips. So I'm going to do a little bit of freestyling to try to lay some groundwork for what I'm interested in talking about actually on this Sunday. So we're planning a live full 2 hour stand. If you haven't been here, what I would consider my standard you live conference experience, right? This advanced professional development model that I've come up with. And I have not done one of these in probably 45 or more days at this point. And I am a bit anxious, if I could be honest with you guys, a bit anxious about launching it again. um, Let me just I'm trying to do too many things at once here. All right. Um, but we're gonna okay. So what I want to do on this Sunday, and I actually have been able to, how do I say, recruit some volunteers who are much more versed in this aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion than I am. Um, but I want to take it all the way back to its roots, which start in 1865. So on this Sunday, we're going to do a deep dive into the Freedmen's Bureau and the history of diversity, equity, and inclusion. The federal government's first formal policy on inclusion actually started in 1865. This is post Emancipation Proclamation. Before President Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, he established, I don't have the name right in front of me, so I appreciate your grace, but what is commonly termed the Freedmen's Bureau. And its mission is multifaceted, but basically, its mission was to create an inclusive environment for people who were formerly enslaved. And so it applied to the 11 Confederate states. Again, forgive me if I don't have the details because I'm sort of riffing on what I remember of my own studies here. And there would be federal agents, if that's the right term, who would be in there were maybe a few thousand, I don't remember the exact number, that had different parishes or municipalities or counties where they would be this Freedmen Bureau agent, right? This officer of the federal government who would help dispute, how do I say, resolve disputes between formerly enslaved people and their former enslavers, right? So if there was a labor dispute or a land dispute or other things, this Freedmen Bureau officer who did have the power of the military behind him, often many of these guys were military men, generals, captains, sergeants, etc., to resolve it. And if you can imagine the tension between a former enslaver having to go to some Yankee a bureaucrat to settle a dispute with a person who used to be enslaved by them, working for no, labor without pay. It's complicated, and a lot of those guys didn't have a pleasant experience, as I'm sure you can imagine. So that's sort of where it got started. Sadly, President Lincoln was assassinated. Sadly, what could I say? His vice president, who then became president, was actually a former Confederate. All right, he was Confederate friendly, if you will. So when that, oh, perfect. This is the other one I wanted to bring up. All right, give me another second while I do this. Copy this and put it here. All right, very good. Okay, these are the only two clips that I think I can comfortably use today. Anyway, so this guy was not about the Freedmen Bureau's business. He was not about inclusion. As I look at what was happening in politics of the day, the arguments that were made then are the same arguments that we hear now as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Maybe they've updated it or nuanced it a little bit. Anti-racism wasn't a term. That's something more in alignment with our good friend Mr. Kendi and others. So let me go over here and check out the chat on YouTube. You can see the screen at the top. There's a YouTube link if you want the visual experience. I'm trying to manage it all together. So if you do go to the YouTube channel, put something in the chat so I can see if the chat is working on this piece of software that I have. So, yeah, anyway, I say all that to say there is going to be a live conference on this Sunday. Mark your calendars. That'll be Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific. That's 5 p.m. Eastern time. I will be here live with my special guest, and we're going to be looking at the history of diversity, equity, and inclusion starting in 1865. And we may be able to follow this journey all the way up into the civil rights movement. There are a few highlights, but as I mentioned, it was 7 years from 1865 to I think 1872 when they shut the Freedmen's Bureau down. Oh, we got people here. Hey, Laquita, come on up. I see Carla. Carla Landstronaut is in the building. Oh, I'm cooking over here. I didn't even know anybody, but me and Tarnish Reputation were listening. So, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm sure you guys have heard it, so I won't over reset. But there's a big Educators House live conference. Formally, will be back on this Sunday. 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, dealing with the history of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I hope to span that time frame. As I mentioned, when it first got established, 1865, it only lasted 7 years before it was disbanded. The way that the politics worked out, Congress had to reapprove the Freedmen's Bureau every year. So for the first couple of years, it was cool, and then the president sort of started to dismantle it and defund it, as we see is happening even today with Trump. He's defunding diversity, equity, and inclusion offices. There was the issue of merit. There was the issue of what would I call it? Again, Kendi's term is anti-racism, but it was this sort of like reverse racism argument was being made. So it's interesting to see the parallels between the arguments that were being made in the halls of Congress over 150 years ago and those that are being made now. So that's what I hope to unpack. Then I want to continue or extend this theme. I'm going to send invites to Landstronaut and Carla in case you guys want to come up and we can get into this conversation. I want to continue the conversation from civil rights movement where DEI really started as a employment issue, right? When we think about what was going on with King, who was party to this more modern version of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or what was termed the civil rights movement of those days. It was what about integrating the schools, integrating the workplace fairness. So the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission (EEOC) was established around that time, and so that's where it got started, and it really got started in the employment sectors in modern times. So that's where I'm going to focus on, not this coming Sunday, but next Sunday's journey into diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to start with employment at that conference and make our way into DEI in the schools. And I think this is where we start to see that conspiracy that I've started to unpack the last time we were together. This idea that um, getting diversity, equity, and inclusion into the schools is actually a very intentional tactic or strategy of, as some would call, the critical theory camp. And so once it gets in the schools, now you're into the educator's house wheelhouse, right? Now you're into our territory. So from that point moving forward, we're going to look into DEI at the various levels of education. So obviously, there's a lot of hot air right now regarding DEI in the um, higher education space, right? Harvard University is under attack. The governor of Maine is under pressure regarding transgenders in sports and all of that. So we see it in education from higher ed, and it makes its way all the way down to elementary schools. And then at some point, and I don't have a full clear vision on where I'm going with this. I'm hoping that you're comfortable with me starting messy. Excuse me. At some point, it shifts, right? There's a shift from what I will put in air quotes as traditionally protected classes, vis-a-vis race and gender, kind of our main two. And then it started to move into gender identity and gender fluidity and how people want to identify beyond gender. And some would say that this second wave of DEI has sort of corrupted what was initially intended behind creating a space that, whatever the space is, that's diverse, that's equitable, and that's inclusive of the people that are there, right? Everyone feels included. So it's just a very interesting story, and it's going to take a while to unpack. Here's my call to action, and then I'll open up the mic for Laquita and Tarnished Reputation. After I finish this DEI, I could use your help as it relates to the next theme that I want to unpack, which is dealing with screen time and child development. And so That's going to lead to artificial intelligence and education, which I'm sure Landstronaut is. I hope she's excited about that because I know that she's in that space as well. So if you come across anything in your feed that deals with screen time and child development, how the screens are hijacking the kids' brains, how it's intentionally addictive, best practices in relation to child development, any real or expert YouTube, Instagram, wherever you might find it, send it to me. Right, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on YouTube. I'm here on Clubhouse. So whatever the back channel is where you can send me interesting links that come through your algorithm as it relates to smartphones, screen time, social media, and our very youngest. I want to look at that intersection so I could use your help. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And if something crosses your algorithm, go ahead and find Educator's House on one of those channels so I can start collecting resources regarding our next theme. Okay, so with that said, getting back to the topic, diversity, equity, and inclusion, the history of it. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is what I want us to kind of unpack in Homeroom today. So let me yield my mic. Let me pass this mic around to my fellow stage mates. Tarnish reputation. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Let me pass the mic. Give greetings to the room, a little bit about yourself, and maybe if you have any thoughts on the topic today.
Well, I'm I'm actually sitting in my classroom right now, but I'm a middle school English teacher in the New York region. I've been teaching about 10 years. Um, if you want to talk about diversity and inclusion, uh, it's like a I think it's a battle that I don't think we are winning at this moment. So I'm just gonna pass it back to Laquita and see what people think about it. But at this moment, I think it's a battle that I think we need to figure out a different angle to talk about diversity and inclusion. That's just my opinion.
Appreciate you. Laquita, mic is yours, straight to you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Laquita Middleton. I am a middle school history teacher. I did teach my students about the Freedmen's Bureau a few months ago when it was on our learning objectives and teaks and such. I think DEI it is something that is very necessary, but I think another thing that is very necessary for us as a people is for us to stop being reactionary and start taking like lead and charge on things that actually happens to our people, and start having some preventive measures in place so that it won't even go this far to where we are excluded from the society. And I do apologize for my voice. I'm, working on trying to get it back together. But thanks for the room and the space.
Awesome. I'll be honest with you, Laquita. I am pleasantly surprised to hear that Freedmen's Bureau has made it into somebody's standards somewhere in America.
In Texas.
In Texas, of all places. Girl,
Really? Oh
friend.
my god.
Yeah, seriously.
Yes.
I actually have gotten more than my fair share of news and updates regarding Texas in particular. The governor there is making major and some would say uncomfortable moves in education, not only from the issue of testing, but the issue of vouchers, privatizing the education system down there, making the rich richer by giving these vouchers to people who can already who are already sending their kids to private school. I mean, really interesting stuff. And so at some point, I have a sneaky suspicion that I'm going to be probably doing a whole theme on what's going on in Texas education because it is leading the charge when it comes to maybe I could call it Trump's agenda on education, but they're not playing over there in Texas. They are making major moves. They're not the first state to privatize. The state of Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, might have been the first, or maybe it was just Orleans Parish that made every school a charter school. So there's schools, states around the nation that have a variety of what would I call it? plans for education. And I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing because of what's happening in artificial intelligence, because of what's happening with our finances, because of what's happening in the traditional public school system, right? The numbers indicate that our kids are not doing great when it comes to reading and math, which are the fundamentals. Maybe it is time that we experiment. Maybe it is time that we shake it up. Now the question is, are we going to end up going in the wrong direction, ultimately making things worse? Or is this phase of experimentation actually a good thing? Because then we can start, sharing best practices and all of that. So I'm not exactly sure how it's going to play out, but I can certainly say that there's a lot going on in Texas education, and I'm excited to see how it plays. All right. So with that said, I had a clip of just a little short clip of um, the Freedmen's Bureau just to set a little bit of grounding, and then perhaps we can take it from there. So here's a brief 2-minute clip that may give us some context. So please enjoy this, and we'll take it from here. Sorry, everybody, that was totally the wrong clip. He jumped right into the middle of it. All right, enjoy this one. Sorry.
Bureau helped African Americans and others receive resources such as education, marriage licenses, employment, medical, and food aid. It was organized into districts covering the 11 former rebel states and had 900 agents at its peak. During slavery, the majority of African Americans could not receive much or if any education. The Freedmen's Bureau opened over 1,000 black schools and over $400,000 were spent to establish teacher training institutions. The Bureau helped fund Atlanta University, now Clark Atlanta University, established in 1865 in Atlanta, Georgia, Howard University, established March 2, 1867 in Washington, D.C., Fisk University, established January 9, 1866 in Nashville, Tennessee, and Hampton University, established April 1, 1868 in Hampton, Virginia. Beginning in 1866, the Bureau helped with securing equal justice in southern states by helping legitimize slave marriages and preside over freedmen marriage ceremonies in areas where black marriages were illegal. Hospitals were built to help prevent and contain outbreaks. Many African Americans were not allowed or not given adequate care at white hospitals. The Freedmen's Bureau served over 500,000 suffering freedmen. The U.S. Army took control of a good deal of land that was confiscated or abandoned by the Confederacy. General Sherman advocated to give African Americans 50 acres and a mule, which would have made many African Americans self-sufficient and able to provide protection to other freed slaves. But this didn't happen. In the summer of 1865, President Andrew Johnson issued special pardons, restoring the property to many Confederates. The Bureau established one of the first multi-state banks in the nation, the Freedmen's Bank. African Americans could save their earnings, which could be deposited by or on behalf of persons held in slavery in the United States or their descendants. There were 37 branches in 17 states and the District of Columbia, which was mostly run by African Americans. White Southerners tried their best to stop African Americans from progressing. The Black Codes were passed in many states to restrict African Americans' freedom. On February 19, 1866, President Andrew Johnson has the task to extend the Freedmen's Bureau bill or to veto it. He vetoes it twice, but the veto was overturned by Congress extending the Freedmen's Bureau for 2 more years. Unfortunately, majority of the work of the Freedmen's Bureau was discontinued on July 1st, 1869. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and remember, knowledge to the people.
So this is interesting. Let me stop the share on the YouTube experience. Let's go back. Ah, Leticia is in the building. Let's go. No sound. Got it. Okay. Yep. 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 All right. Perfect. Glad to see you here, Leticia. She's over there at YouTube, hitting up the chat, keeping it warm. Um, yeah, DEI. So what do we notice here? On the one hand, there's a bit of context, right? Because there was some criticism that um emancipating formerly enslaved people was more of a military or a strategic tactic rather than a moral obligation. Okay, and there's historical context for that, so I don't have so much of a problem with that argument. However, the concept of the 40 acres and a mule and what President Lincoln did in terms of getting trying to create restitution, um, trying to make formerly enslaved people who now are, according to the amendment to the Constitution, have been afforded the full rights and privileges of citizenship, should be restored. And so, this concept, what is the term for that? Where we get our money back. What is that called? It starts with a R. It's not coming to me right now. But reparations, right? This concept of reparations started back then, and it didn't last long. When after Lincoln was assassinated, the then president, I think Andrew Johnson, I could be wrong, whoever his vice president was, he was a Southern guy. And so he undid all of that. He gave the land back, the land that was supposed to be the 40 acres and a mule. He ended up ceding that back to the former Confederates and the rebels. And so that's where the Freedmen's Bureau had tension, right? Because they were supposedly guaranteed this. But when they started to make these claims, there was tension between the Southern landowners, the former enslavers, and the Freedmen's Bureau, the federal government, and the formerly enslaved, who were trying to make things right. So that is the long history of what was going on with diversity, equity, and inclusion, hundreds of years ago. And since then, the classic arguments about what diversity, equity, and inclusion is or should look like really hasn't changed. We can fast forward to what was going on with Ronald Reagan and LBJ. And we saw the same thing when King was, how do I say, pushing for the civil rights of American citizens. There was significant change, right? The federal government came in, helped walk some how old was she? She must have been 6 years old, maybe 7 years old, walked her into her elementary school with the National Guard and all of that drama to integrate schools back in, a generation or two ago, depending on how old you are. And it was the right thing to do. I think it was Lyndon B. Johnson who really started that off. Yeah, Ruby Bridges. Thank you. Um, the lore goes, I'll share this probably more on Sunday, but just to try to move the story forward, the lore is that there was a African American soldier in uniform who came back from World War II, if I'm not mistaken. And after he had gotten discharged, as the rumor says it, he was discharged and still in uniform and was murdered by some white boys. Excuse me. Mm. And it was that tragedy that rose up this moral issue. Oh, I'm so sorry. And that's when this issue of the rights of the African Americans became back to center. And so yeah, it's going to be interesting. I just want to lay a little bit of groundwork for those of you that are here in terms of what you're going to experience on Sunday. Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. We're going to go live and really do a deep dive onto the history of diversity, equity, and inclusion as one part of a multi-part series. So the next couple of Sundays, we're going to be looking forward through time. I'm going to invite some of the folks who are here with me live. Nazi, Dr. Vaughn. Feel no pressure. You know, many of you guys are probably getting yourselves together in the morning. So this is the morning show, Homeroom, and we're just seeding some of the pieces here. So with that said, I'm going to invite Nazi, and then I'm going to move the conversation forward to something a little bit more modern that I think would be fruitful for discussion. Nazi, mic is yours.
Hey, so something that happened to me yesterday, I'm really excited about, is that I got contacted by American Public Media. I got Chris Peak. So guys, please follow him to encourage him to stay in Clubhouse and follow us in Clubhouse because he's in Clubhouse now. Christopher Peak. He's a Sold a Story is a huge thing in education. Because of Sold a Story, many states are passing laws now about reading and literacy. And you may think, well, what does that have to do with DEI? But it has like everything to do with DEI, because if you can't provide literacy to people and equitably, then, you know, literacy is what prevents crime, prevents poverty, gets people into college. So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just waking up this morning. So follow Christopher Peak, please.
I tried to search for Christopher Peak. Christopher.
Yes, that's the spelling. Looks like a middle-aged or kind of younger guy, maybe like 40, late 30s or 40 years old, white guy.
Yeah, it's not coming up on my search. If you do have time and find it, I'll be happy to post it so that everybody can get to him. But
Okay.
I don't see him on my search.
He wants to do a story, and I was actually contacted by my contact at IES. IES is the Institute of Educational Sciences, which are probably on the chopping block. And they are the one organization that appropriates money for independent research from the federal government. So if we don't have independent research, then we have, corporations pretty much just saying what their stuff is, how their stuff, they have conflicts of interest in their research. And so we can't really always know that their research is unbiased. But if you have independent research, which is funded by organizations like IES, the NCIL, the National Council of Literacy, Improving Literacy, and then the NCII, the National Council for Intensive Intervention, and then you have AIR, which is the American Institute for Research, and then also the Meadow Center in Texas. That is also another one where a lot of literacy is coming out with Sharon Vaughn. All of these are independent research places, and he's trying to do a study on that about why it's important to have independent research, or he's trying to do a story about it.
So a couple things come up for me. Another research arm that we in this field lean on extensively is the NAEP, which actually falls technically under the Department of Education, which many of you guys may know is currently being dismantled by the great Linda McMahon, former wrestling executive. So the NAEP publishes what we call the nation's report card, where all the public schools are to report their students' performance, which allows us to not only compare state by state, but gives us a national overview, and it gives us data that we can disaggregate by various groups, including special education status, race, gender, etc. So it gives us some pretty great research and gives us a real view of what's going on in education today. There is a promise that the NAEP will not be affected by the moves that are being made in the Department of Education, but I have a sneaky suspicion that as they move their agenda forward with block grants and other stuff, let me get this link up so that we can support this new educator in our space. I don't know if it's going to work, but I just shared it to the top. Okay, great. So Chris Peak is also a fellow educator. Let's go ahead and warm up his algorithm. Let him know that there's a community of fellow educators around, so that we can keep him here and try to
So
continue to add value. Go ahead, Nazi.
he's not an educator. He's a journalist,
Oh,
and he made famous some problems in literacy that created a lot of states to introduce dyslexia laws. Like probably at least half of the states have introduced new dyslexia laws because of this it's the third most listened to podcast in the United States. It's called Sold a Story. And you may know the main journalist, her name is Emily Hanford. So it kind of brought back this sort of reading wars kind of, debate. But the reading wars is kind of like winning on one side now because of the research that's supporting it. And we're going back to the time of George Bush, where he introduced reading first initiative and things like that. There's just a bigger, yeah, there you go. There's a bigger sort of push. There's something called the Mississippi Miracle, if you want to look that up. The Mississippi Miracle on the NAEP, which, we only know who's making progress and who's not. But as a lot of people are threatened by what happened in Mississippi recently. It's called the Reading League. They put together a nonprofit organization. They went into Mississippi, actually asked for help. They were like 49th on the NAEP in reading. And they got the support. The researchers came in, set up some research-based reading programs. And all of a sudden, within, 3 years, something like that, Mississippi rose to like 28th, 29th in the nation, something like that. Like, from 20 spots, where the rest of the nation did not grow, like they did not grow on the NAEP. So, Mississippi is mostly Black, and it's a threat when all of a sudden little Black kids can learn how to read and your kids can't. Yeah, it's really, that's the Mississippi Miracle. You could look that up.
yeah.
That's sort of motivated by the stuff that he talks about on American media, American public media.
Real quick before I move to Adrian, when are you having him on? Can you give us some details so that we have it for our calendars?
I don't have him on yet, but he just followed me, and I'm trying to see. He's trying to listen to my replays.
Yeah.
But I don't know yet. I'm just talking through this lady at IES right now.
Got it. Okay. Well, listen, keep us updated, keep us informed, because clearly there's something there. As you may or may not know, Nazi, and then I'm gonna pass it to you, Adrian, for greetings and reflections. I am also running a concurrent room Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So I know that's when you have the educational diagnosticians rooms. So I see you, but unfortunately, I'm also live at that time. So perhaps there's either I don't know how, but I definitely want to be in the space when that room is being held. Okay, let me move on to Adrian. Adrian, I'm sure you're busy. You have your morning routine, but maybe you have a moment to give greetings to the room and any thoughts about the history of DEI or anything about the Freedmen's Bureau, which is sort of our point of departure here.
Good morning. I hope everyone's doing well. You are exactly right. I was actually behind today, so sorry I wasn't in here earlier. But yeah, I don't have any comments right now, just because I'm driving a stick shift, and with my left hand, so it's a lot of mental power.
Sure.
But
Okay.
thank you for having me here, and I look forward to listening.
All right, cool. Yeah, you be safe. We'll take it from here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's 39 minutes after the hour. We've got about 20 minutes left. We've been talking about some of the news and updates. If you guys have any news or updates in the world of education, Nazi was the one who recommended that we make this a community effort. So if there's anything on your radar, you're more than welcome to come up. We can bring those news and views over to our space here as I try to form. This is a very new space, so I see there's some new pink tickets. Amber, Tahira, and Jennifer, welcome you guys. We're trying to bring a professional grade experience to the morning, the morning clubhouse in the morning. So you're more than welcome to come back. If you like what you're experiencing so far, you can scroll up to the top and join the house. With that said, one of the things that came up in the video that I played recently, and I don't have time to play it again with only 20 minutes left, but the replays are on, so you can go back and check that out, was the establishment, some of the missions of the Freedmen's Bureau. And from a personal perspective, having marriage licenses formally recorded was actually a very significant deal when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. I put that in very big air quotes. But the post enslavement era, there were no records of the marriages that took place in the slave quarters or cross plantations between people who wanted to be committed to one another, even though they were enslaved. And so we created an African American tradition, which you can find in many Black marriages even today, called the jumping of the broom. Which was a signal to the community that this was a formal couple. And if that news made it to the former enslavers, they would often use that as leverage, right? Maybe splitting up that couple because you can't have no uppity Negroes on your plantation. So splitting those couples up and sending them to different plantations was certainly a power play that was leveraged back in those days. So during this golden era, this 7-year golden era, these Freedmen Bureau's officers started to actually make records that made it into the historical documents, so that when we, sons of slaves, actually do some genealogical history, there is this brief phase where those records were kept. Now, when the Freedmen's Bureau ended, I think they call it the Great Wall or the Blackout. I don't remember what the term is, but they stopped keeping those records again after the end of the Freedmen's Bureau in, I believe, 1872. So there is a phase where we get these records in these former Southern slaveholding states. And then once again, it goes dark as we see the rise of the Ku Klux Klan and the black laws and all of those things started to terrorize American citizens. So this idea of taking marriage records was a very big and important thing. Also, the issue of hospitals came up in terms of what was going on with the Freedmen's Bureau and their mission. So having a place where American citizens can go get proper health care was a very big deal. So establishing hospitals, and because of, we're talking before desegregation, right, before integration, uh, if you needed medical attention and the only doctor was a white man, you were running a risk. Black men don't want to go to the doctor today because of the history of what kind of risk it meant to expose yourself in that sort of vulnerable way. So we bring it back to education. One of the major ones, and which is most relevant to this particular space, was this idea of the establishment of schools. So training not only Black teachers, which is a very big deal if you ask me, um, to then go out and establish schools, maybe at the local church or maybe its own schoolhouse. But now Black children had the opportunity to get formally educated, which was another major aspect of what it meant for the peculiar institution called American slavery. Because having your enslaved people know how to read, which Nazi was just talking about, could be problematic. Because if they read certain texts, like, oh, let's say the American Constitution, or let's say the Bible, it may inspire new behavior. So establishing these schools. Now they gave us a list of the schools that were there. You know, Howard University, Clark Atlanta University, and others. But let's also keep in mind that there were philanthropic. What would I call them? Abolitionists who also established schools. So we might want to give Spelman a lot of love as an HBCU, but let's acknowledge that it was, if I'm not mistaken, established by Rockefeller or Rockefeller's wife, who I think is actually her last name, her maiden name was Spelman. So this was an era where it was very popular to establish these universities. All of your A&Ms, were established during this sort of golden era of Reconstruction. So there was a phase, but clearly it was short-lived, because not long after that, you see the rise of the Klan, the rise of the Jim Crow laws, and all of that. So we're going to kind of look into that history on Sunday, and I hope that we can end our 2-hour conference on some of these notes. So before I start playing the next clip, I just want to give shout out to the folks that are here. TA Queen, Watts, the Power Educator. All right, I love that title. Let me send you an invite, sis. There's a bunch of pink tickets as well. If you want to join us in this conversation, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to send, because this is a new house, we're going to allow new visitors invitations onto the stage. So if you want to come up, that's fine. I'm going to play a clip in the meantime. Inclusive DI. There's less pushback. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna start using the full words. Appreciate that, sis. Just be safe, okay? I'm worried about you. Anyway, for the folks that are here, I am going to drop the link to the YouTube. If you I don't know if you know, but I am live streaming this on YouTube, and so I'm gonna take down Chris's link. So there's a lot of happening right now. So if you're fully active and engaged, there's a Clubhouse person on my marquee that being encouraged to follow. He's a journalist, but he's done a lot of groundbreaking work in issues of literacy in America. And so we want to show him some love to let him know that Clubhouse is not all toxic. Okay, good, Adrian. I'm glad you're safe. So if you want, give him a follow right quick, because I'm about to take this link down and post up the link to the YouTube video. So this is my Educator's House channel on YouTube. You'll be able to see Homeroom live streamed Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the conference is being held on Sunday. So you're more than welcome to follow the channel so that you can stay up to date when we do our live stream. Some people like the video interaction a little bit better than audio only. Once I figure out how to click the right buttons, I'll be able to post, and I'm actually going to try that right now. Post up the actual clips that we can respond to. So let's give that a try, and I'll take it from there. So here is a clip that will sort of, I want to fast forward all the way to what we see today as far as DEI and sort of where I want to land the plane. So I'm in the middle of her speaking, but this is someone who I think we will be talking about in one way or another very soon. So let's check out her rant, and then we'll talk about what DEI, one of the aspects of DEI that I want to get into. All right, I'm going to shut my mic down. Please enjoy this, and we'll talk about it. All right, there's a couple things going on for me. So just give me a moment while I figure out my technical thing. What I want to be able to do is to share this on the YouTube so that people on YouTube can actually see what I'm doing here. So I just figured out how to share it, and let's hear her full clip. This is, by the way, Texas. Shout out to Texas. Once again, Nazi and others are representing quite well. Miss Jasmine Crockett is really rising in the ranks among the Democrats as a potential popular candidate. And I think the Democrats need somebody popular to keep their party afloat. So she's making some waves, and this is her response to the attacks on DEI. So let's listen to this and unpack it a little bit.
question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified. There seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified. All I could think about was the fact that
either you're diverse or you're qualified. This is not wild work. Okay, this is a very real experience that I think a lot of us have, and I wonder, Adrian or Nazi, oh, both of you guys are doing morning duty, so I'm not going to bother you. But I see Annette is in the building. I know you may not come up; it's so early, but you're welcome to join us. This is a trope that we hear time and time again, this idea that either you're diverse or you're qualified. If you got here, and by here I mean into a field that has been traditionally earmarked for, let's call it white men, that you only got here because you're diverse or because yeah, if you're here, it's because you're diverse, not because you're qualified. And so she rattled off all of her things, and yet, even in the halls of Congress, she gets a little bit of pushback on how it is that she made it there. And so I wonder if her experience is a real one or not. But I see Carla. Carla's here, so I want to give you greetings and give you the mic to introduce yourself a bit and share whatever came up for you. Carla, if you're ready, the mic is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity, Hassan. I was listening to that and I resonated with that because I think in that lies a truth. And that is the perception that is trying to be changed, right? You're either diverse or you're qualified. So as long as people that are in position to be able to control hiring on a broad scale buy into the concept, we whether obviously or just subjectively or objectively, we will continue to struggle with that. Because why does it have to be one or the other instead of a both and an and? And so when I hear corporations saying they're moving away from the DEI initiatives because of the political backlash. However, they're still committed to equitable hiring. That is the question that comes up for me. Who is doing the hiring and what is their mindset? It does not matter what you say with your mouth. It matters what you believe in your heart, because that will drive your actions. Do we still have a chance to be considered for who we are instead of just the color of our skin? And I think one could say that remains to be seen, but I definitely have to see people moving with their feet because I, I don't believe that right now in today's time, that is where we are. And I'll land.
You know, there was a TEDx video that I may be able to bring in on Friday's show, which really speaks to that. Whether or not this, how would I say? Oh, matter of fact, I may have a version of it, but I see Carlos is here. So let me give Carlos greetings while I try to pull up this next clip. Hey, Carlos, welcome to the space. We're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I wonder what your thoughts are. The mic is yours.
Hi, good morning. Hope you're doing well. I'm from Detroit. In terms of what, like DEI, or what do you mean? Like in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, like what do you mean by that? It's a pretty broad topic, you know.
Yeah. It's a very broad topic, so I'll try to narrow it. Did you have? I mean, you raised your hand. Did you just want to join us, or did you have something in particular
Oh
that
yeah,
came
no,
up?
I was just, I was just gonna kick it with y'all.
Yeah. I'm glad that you did. Welcome up to the space. So a couple things. as a lead up to our 2-hour live experience on Sunday, I'm looking at the history of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so what I want to do is to try to span 150 years in 2 hours. And so leading up to that, acknowledging first that diversity, equity, and inclusion started in 1865. And I'm going to kind of end the journey around 1965 by looking at what happened with the civil rights movement. And then later we want to get into the issue of DEI as it relates to education. So as of this particular aspect of diversity, equity, and inclusion, just looking at the nation's history as it relates to inclusion, whether or not there is, as the one side says, a systemic effort to keep people oppressed, or is this how do I say, the long walk towards freedom? And the real concept of America is that we have been marching slowly towards justice, and we're just on that journey, and it's not going to be perfect. We can't judge what happened in the 1860s from 2025 eyes, because it was a different historical context, the technology, dot 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 dot. It was just different, so we can look at it from a historical lens, but to judge them, I think, is unfair, right? So considering what happened then and considering where we are now, some would say we've made great progress. Others would say this is just the system and it really hasn't changed. What do you think?
I think like I'm 28, so I think my generation is like a lot different, you know, in terms of um, like in terms of like pretty much the racist shit. Like, 'cause I noticed like older generations, like there's like more racial issues. I think with my generation, we like kind of are on the same page about it. Like, but guy, like I think like equality of opportunity is the case, but equality of outcome, you know, doesn't lead to good results. You know, like if we say like, oh, we need 5 black people to work here, you know, it's like, well, why don't we just choose the best qualified candidate? You know, and you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that there is like some systematic issues, especially like I live in Detroit, so I see it like because what happened was if you look at the history of Detroit, they moved in black people into like basically ghettos, you know, to work in the auto industry to build tanks, stuff like that, because they finally gave black people and women the opportunity to work once you know the war was going on. So basically like these like ghettos, like, you know, there's high crime, it's not the best like living environment. And then you look at these neighborhoods that develop from those government like basically projects. It's a very similar situation with like high crime, you know, socioeconomically. So I do see like the effects because like if you look at like areas where there's majority, like I'm Colombian, so like majority Hispanic, majority Black, usually there's like, you know, a lot of disparity between, you know, if you look at like, you know, white suburban areas, it's very different, you know, like very different experience in life growing up in that type of environment.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that the answer is really education. I think that's what the best thing is. And like, you know, instead of focusing on racial divides, was work on solutions, you know. So I
Yeah.
think the victim mentality is very hurtful to minorities in general in America. That,
Wow.
to say that the system is overwhelming. Well, you know, there's always gonna be disadvantages in life, you know, based on your worldview, what you've been through, you know. So it's like you just gotta try to overcome it and you know, I mean, make a successful future for you and your family.
That's a great share. And there are some areas where I think you and I really agree wholeheartedly. But I also saw Leah Gershon throw up a big X. And so I want to pass the mic and give you an opportunity to respond. Tell us your name, a little bit about yourself, and take this mic. Leah, mic is yours.
Okay, well, my name is Labe Gershon.
Lane.
Okay, and I'm just somebody who's listening here before I go into work, and I just wanted to make like one small point. Okay, when people are like using the word system or like people are using the word justice, it really would be nice if those terms could be sharpened up. Oh, sorry, that's a GPS in the background. Because if you say justice means that everybody has like the same outcome, then that's not so good because we'll never reach a just world because
Hmm.
different people choose to do different things. And yeah, if you could just and yeah, if you could just sharpen up the terms.
Okay. Thank you for joining. Were you done? I'm not sure if you landed your plane.
Well, right. It's I'm sorry, I had to turn the car here. So it was justice, and it was another word that you were using there, and I was trying to figure out how could it make sense. Well, yeah, I just say, yeah, just be like precise about your terms. That's all.
Okay. Let me see. I want to play. I hear the conversation is moving, so let me not do what I want. Let me yield to the good of the group. Let me go with Carla, give her a chance to respond, and then Carlos. I think you can jump in right after that. So go ahead, Carla. Carla, mic is yours.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yes, excuse me. I think to Carlos's point, I agree with what he said. I agree with what you said, Carlos. My question that I would have following up is who's going to do the educating? So, yes, the education is needed. It has been needed. It continues to be needed. But who are the educators? Who are the voices that are going to step forth and begin this move toward true equity and acceptance of all people? Because we people have been trying, but it appears that the people that have the loudest voices are not always stepping up to lead that charge. So then how do we get that charge led? Each one can reach one, but how do we reach the masses to affect a significant change
Hmm.
such that we truly don't need to consider DEI systems at all?
Hmm.
Alain.
Carlos, you want to respond, and then I'll jump in after you.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the budget for education when it comes to public school systems. Because I mean, like you don't see a lot of people from my neighborhood going to like private schools. So it's like in that sense, like I had to ride a 1 hour bus to another school because they shut down the school in my district and build a prison. So it's like I would like to see more government funding on education and less on building prisons. You know, it's like I feel like the system is designing people to fail. I mean, when you grow up in a very like low socioeconomic level, like it's just like it, it's so hard to come up from that. Like, I think that me personally, like when I grew up as a kid, man, like I ended up getting involved with organized crime, and I've been to jail like a shit ton of times, like and like I like came back from that and built a future for myself. I mean, like I have a business development firm that I work on because it's hard to get a job as a felon, so I made my own business.
Hmm.
I do like loan applications, business plans, copywriting, not like music, but like like commercial materials like brochures, shit like that. Graphic design, I code in Python and JavaScript. Those are all skills I developed through like my own independent education. So it's like I feel like if you're motivated enough, you can get there. But influencing the youth to not get involved with crime and the drug game really is a huge issue in America. I'd like to see safe injection sites like they have in the UK, where like they provide medical grade heroin for heroin addicts, and it basically just eliminates the drug dealing. So basically, like the new population of users decreases. I think heroin is a huge issue in Detroit. It's awful. The people are dying every single day of this fentanyl stuff that's coming in from Mexico, which originates from China. So
I'll jump in here. At the risk of being facetious, because I know I'm on live, but I don't know if they was giving out free medical grade heroin. I might want to give it a try. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm
well,
joking.
you'd have to have like a history of substance use issues, and like what they do is like basically it's harm reduction. So instead of getting
Yeah.
it from a street dealer or where like there's an environment where you could share it with a new user, they do it in like a facility, make sure you're okay, and release you. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So
no, yeah, I understand. I'm
it works
familiar.
really well in Norway and Sweden. It
It's
reduced the new user population because there's no drug dealer that can compete with free medical grade heroin.
right.
So
It
it's
was
really
a
important.
similar philosophical argument to what was happening with the passing out of condoms in schools, right? The kids are going to do it anyway, so let's create a safe space and give them what they need in order to do what they're already going to do safely. So I understand that argument. And there's a lot of counters to that. There's something else, and I see Nazi, so I'll pass it to you. But something came up for me, Nazi, that I think you would resonate with as it relates to funding. And I think you may have referenced this in terms of what was going on in Mississippi, but more money doesn't necessarily improve something that's working by design. So we have ways and techniques that can actually improve the quality of education. But to Jasmine Crockett's point, it doesn't, even if I'm very highly qualified, it doesn't combat the perception that I'm here because of my race or my gender. But Nazi, I know you wanted to jump in, and then I'll start landing this plane. Go ahead, dear.
I have a lot of things to say, but I'm just
I
gonna
know
stick
you
it to
do,
one
girl.
one point. Just stay straight in one point. One point, Carlos. I mean, you bringing back to I was resilient. I came up from this. I faced that. But you never talk about who were the support systems around you that helped you to achieve that. Can you talk about that?
Honestly, I had nobody. Like my dad left, and my mom is bipolar, so she was pretty like fucked up like during that time frame of my life. So like I was just trying to hold it down, so like me and my brother wouldn't go into like foster care or like CPS and shit. 'Cause they called on us because a lot of reasons, but no, I mean mostly it's just self motivated. Like I knew I wanted a different future for myself, and I just didn't like the people I was around and the environment I was in, and like the criminal world is like fuck, man. Like you can't trust anybody. You're constantly in fear, paranoid. Like there's danger. Like you could die or get stabbed or go to jail or prison. Like it's just that life was not for me. So like what I
Mm,
wanted to do was really give back to my community because I felt like I harmed it by selling drugs and
mm.
doing like robberies and all kinds of stuff that I did was horrible. I regret immensely, but it's like I just like started giving my life to the community, and every good thing that's ever happened to me in my life is a result of helping other people.
This is
So
a
would you say that
yeah.
you built yourself a system of supports in order to be resilient?
Yeah. I'm alone a lot, to be honest. Like I started this business from the ground up, and it's mostly online. So like most of it's word of mouth. Like I do a really good job. Like I design like professional brochures. Like I do coding. I can do server traffic, all kinds of stuff. So those are just
So
skills I learned.
would you also say you seem like a very bright, gifted person in terms of your goals, your vision, and all those kinds of things? Do you think you could be a lot further along if you hadn't had the adversities that you had faced?
Hmm. It's an
Yeah,
interesting
yeah,
question.
probably I'd be a lawyer because I wanted to defend people that were innocent, and it's interesting because I ended up meeting a lawyer but multiple times. But yeah, no, like, yeah, I'd probably be a lawyer, that'd be probably what I would do, like a trial lawyer. But like, you can't do that with like felonies, so you know.
I'm gonna slide in here, Carlos. You have a compelling story. I hope that you continue to be part of this educator's house, especially if you do have a concern about issues in education. As
Well,
we
speaking of which, I did want to tell you something real quick. I don't want to cut you off.
no, we
I do
center
a
your voice. Go ahead.
I do a financial literacy class at the library through it's Co-op of Alliance of Healthy Communities. So I do a financial literacy class. Like I have like probably like 5, 6 people that just show up most of the time. But
Hmm.
I just thought that was important to teach people how to leverage debt and like how to manage basically your financial, like personal finance, stuff like that. I just felt like it was needed. Like the max I've had is like 15 people, but it's like a 4-week course. You meet at the library every week, and I just teach you stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
investment stuff like that.
Well, thank you
How to
for
start
sharing
your
that.
business. Sounds good.
Yeah. You are very welcome here. There may be an opportunity for me to promote or at least maybe bring you on and do some of that. But I don't quite have a vision for what that looks like yet. But let's hang around each other, right? I'll add you. Matter of fact, I'm going to add you right now to my.
Oh, I don't do it on here. I do it for the library.
No.
So
I
it's fine.
understand. I am
Mhm.
following you. Okay, perfect. Anyway, thank you for sharing, and I'm glad that you came up to share. I'm going to just mute you because I know sometimes these things get sticky. Rye Guy's in the building. Rose, Watts, the power educator, Ashika, Solil, Miss Jane, I'll call you, Annette, fantastic woman, Annette. And I hope that when we get into the issue of screen time and child development, Annette, I sorry to do it in the public sphere, but I'd love to partner with you on looking at that intersection. Jennifer, Tahira, and Landstronaut. Hey guys, we're going to start landing this plane. I do want to play one more clip that kind of rounds out what my agenda was, but as you can see, and it was Carla and others who really helped me realize the purpose of Educators House is centering the voice of the community. And so whatever my agenda is when it comes to making sure that your voice is heard, that is the priority. So don't mind me as I kind of fine tune this, but check out this last clip, which really is going to be sort of the other bookend to what's going to happen on Sunday. is how diversity, equity, and inclusion became potentially corporate gobbledygook and not actually a genuine intention. So listen to this clip from, of all people, Charlemagne the God. Please enjoy this.
It's one of our secret ingredients.
At Kraft Heinz, our purpose is to make life delicious. And we believe we can't achieve that without one essential ingredient: diversity. It's diversity that makes life delicious.
We're on a 400-year-long journey, and scars don't fade. But neither does hope.
Ask your doctor if black people are right for you.
So if you are in the listen only mode, it says there were these, oh, I got to work on my sound. Thank you, Leticia. I'm going to try to get it tight. All of these corporations, the last one was a Vaseline commercial talking about the scars of black folks, and it had some black people in it. So whether or not diversity, equity, and inclusion, which started as a form of reparations for formerly enslaved people, got disrupted over the course of time. Once it resurfaced again under the civil rights movement, then it started to be embraced as a corporate culture. And there was an argument to be made that there's a corporate advantage to having a diverse workplace, right? Because then you can tap into additional markets, you can get a variety of perspectives, etc. But then when they started putting out these commercials in, how do you say, virtue signaling to their commitment to diversity, we can fast forward to what's happening today. And a lot of these corporations who put all of this information out are starting to wind that back and is moving back towards the other version of the extreme. So this particular conference might not be education on the nail of the head per se, but what it will be is an opportunity for us to lay some important groundwork to what I think is going to be that critical conversation about this intersection between DEI and education, and how it's being dismantled under Trump, and what really is going on below the surface, which is what we are here for. So I know we're 11 minutes after the hour. We're a little bit over time. So let me land this plane with a little bit of a call to action. I am a scientist, and so this version of Homeroom may continue to evolve as I listen more to the community and find out what it is that you guys need, so that we can have a morning option for fellow educators to come together to get the announcements, the hot topics, the news, and the views. So thank you all for participating, to my stage mates and to everyone in the listening lounge. I recognize that this is not going to be for everyone, so I'm not trying to appease and appeal to every listener, but for those who are interested in the issues that concern me and my community, then you are definitely welcome to be here. And what I've learned is this can't grow without your help. So if anything was worthy of remark, please let someone know, hey, there's this new YouTube channel, or there's this new place on Clubhouse in the morning, so check it out. That is going to be the key to us growing. So the better that I can serve you, the community, then the more likely it is that you will make it remarkable, a remark worthy, to let someone else know that I exist. And that's going to be the way that this channel can grow. So while I'm not doing the paid ads and all of that, I certainly can rely on the value that I bring, so that you can let other folks know. So please tell somebody, like, share, subscribe, as they say on YouTube, and we can kind of take it from there. So thank you guys for coming. 5:13. I know I'm over time, but I appreciate you guys for your support. I will be back on Friday. I'll also let you guys know that I'm thinking about doing, I'm here full time, right? It took me a long time to get to this place, but I'm here and available for the Educator's House. So what I'm thinking about doing is something Friday after work called happy hour. And maybe it'll be a little bit of a more social time. Maybe Carla, in fact, was the one who recommended this. Maybe it would be an opportunity for us to get together and do Q&As, where if teachers are going through some things, they need some advice, they need some motivation, maybe we could just pour into one another without so much of a hardcore agenda. Maybe it's just a bitch and moan session. Maybe we just need a little bit of whiskey neat and a little bit of a mimosa, and we just need to kick back and vent a little bit, right? So I'm not exactly sure what happy hour will look like, but I'm thinking that it might be something of value, and it would be an offering at a different time slot. So that we can reach a broader community. So I'm just trying to use my scientific mind and methodically figure out what is best for this community. So I have a morning show, I've got the Sunday show, and now potentially I have a Friday evening slot as well. So anyway, these are some of the things that you can see coming out of the house, and the more that you resonate, the more that you engage, is how I'm going to get the feedback to know where I should continue to lean in and where I should abandon certain projects or ideas. Okay, I've said enough. I thank you all for your thoughts. Carla, Nazi, and Carlos, I will give you all a one sentence remark. Anything that comes up or any last statements that you'd like to share, if you could do it in one sentence or less, I would appreciate it. And then we'll shut this room down. I'll start with you, Carlos. Carlos, one sentence or less. What comes up?
I want to help you out with some SEO stuff and basically like search engine optimization to help more people find your material. So we can talk about that in messages.
Yes, and I'm going to drop my website so you can take a look at it, and then perhaps after a bit of an audit, you can see exactly how I need to SEO this thing, because that would be great. Carla, why don't you take?
Talk on messages after this ends?
Okay, yes, I'm available. Let's do that.
Yeah, I'd love to brainstorm with you, man, and help you out, like create like a movement, like you know what I'm saying. That's what you want, like clothing and stuff. There's so many ways to monetize it. But anyway, we'll talk.
No, let's do that, because I am. Yes, we'll talk. We'll talk. Carla, give me your one sentence or less. What remark do you have about your experience today? What came up for you, dear?
I would just encourage everyone to invite someone to the next session. We start one by one. So do your part and get someone else in the room. Thank you.
You're amazing, Carla. Thank you so much. Nazi, do you have time to share? Or are you back on the clock?
One sentence. I'll go down to one word. How about that? Read. Literacy is the answer to everything.
I love me some Nazi. The best speakers make the fewest words go the farthest. READ. My biochemistry teacher used to say, reading is fundamental. And she ain't never lie. All right, guys, we did it. Thank you all for your time and patience, especially for being overtime. As you guys know, in the classroom, the bell does not dismiss you. I do. And so this class is dismissed. Peace, everybody. Thanks for coming. Carlos. Let me find Carlos right quick. CRLOS. Detroit bred. I thought I just followed you. No, that's not the same dude. All right, let me get over here. Oh, wait, I'm still on YouTube. Hey, YouTube. Looks like I might have some professional support here. So that's super exciting, right? So let me end this. Let me get back to center as I end our experience together. So listen, we're growing. I'm growing. I'm finding potential strategic partners here. We're having call to actions, like it's happening, guys. Welcome to Homeroom. This is week 2, day 2 of this Homeroom experiment. And eventually it will massage itself into something that's meaningful and valuable to the community. My role is to be consistent, to hold space, to be present. And I appreciate everybody for coming, for participating in this experience. What's coming next? So it is Wednesday. Theoretically, at 5:30, I will be in my Christian-based professional development space called Faith and Leadership. We've been dealing with the 15 immutable laws of growth by John Maxwell. So I'll be there. Later in this evening, I'll be doing my personal development space called Husbands in Pursuit. It is a Christian male-centered fellowship. And the title that we're operating from is going to be The Good Woman versus the Right Woman. So it's beyond the scope of the regular classroom stuff, but it is within the potential for Educators House, your home for personal and professional development. I haven't quite decided if I will be live streaming all of these experiences, but for now, during these next 5 weeks, I am live streaming everything. If I go online, I'm streaming it. And that way the community can get a chance to demonstrate how they resonate with my topics. So that'll be on later today. Then Thursday, theoretically, I'll be at the Black AI Think Tank with Stefan Youngblood. I don't know what his title is yet, but I should be over there and contributing. And then on Friday, we'll be back at Homeroom in the morning and potentially, probably not this week, to be honest with you, maybe next week, Friday. I'm going to try to launch Happy Hour and see what the educators community looks like in a Friday after work environment. So we're going to see how that goes. And then again on Sunday. So I hope that you brought your calendars out. On Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific, that'd be 3 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be in the educator's house for our formal professional grade conference dealing with the history of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and laying that groundwork for what DEI looks like in schools today. Okay, so those are all the announcements. Thank you guys for your support. Let me log off and try to track down Carlos so I can try to partner with this guy because I certainly need help getting the word out. So with that said, peace, everybody. Peace, 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 you guys.